Reading a clock can be really tricky sometimes because the hour hand doesn't always point right to the number like it did when we were writing and reading o'clocks. This is the clock that I have in my kitchen, and it makes reading clocks even more tricky because it doesn't even have numbers. Instead, each number is a bird. Right now, the clock is saying 5:30 because this is the bird that is 5 and this is the bird that is 6. And you can see that the hour hand, the shorthand, is pointing halfway between the 6 and the 5. So we have to figure out and know, as people who can tell time, what does it mean when the hand is pointing between two numbers? How do you know which number it belongs to? What's really cool is that each clock has imaginary pieces in it, and there are 12 imaginary pieces in each clock, and I'm going to show you on the clock that I made last time. So I have drawn the imaginary pieces into my clock. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 pieces in my clock because there are 12 numbers on my clock. You can make a clock like this too if you'd like to. Each piece belongs to the number that came before. So if we're looking at these two numbers, the number that came before is 12. So this whole piece belongs to 12. This whole piece belongs to 1 because 1 came before. This whole piece belongs to 2, to 3, to 4, to 5, to 6, to 7, to 8, to 9, to 10, and to 11 because each piece belongs to the number that came before. So then if you have an hour hand that is pointing halfway between two numbers like I do here, we know that the space belongs to the number that came before, so this space belongs to 6. So this hour is still pointing to 6 even though it's halfway between. If our hour hand was pointing over here like this, we would say, oh, this space belongs to 12. So the hour is 12, and the minute hand would say something else. If our hour hand was pointing like this to this number, between 4 and 5, we know that the space belongs to the number before, and there it is underneath, number 4. So this hour says 4. Your job for today is to look at the worksheets that I made that show all of those clocks and decide which space is that arrow pointing to. Remember that when you have a space, there are 12 spaces on the clock, and the space belongs to the number that came before. And maybe you want to make a clock just like I did, so that way when you are looking at clocks, maybe crazy clocks, like maybe you have a bird clock like I do, but now we really can see that if we have our hour hand between 5 and 6, the space belongs to 5, the number that came before. Have fun with this project. This is one of the most complicated parts about time, but it is also what makes telling time really cool.